Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Hormone Helper podcast. I'm Coach Andrew, your hormone helper from Fit for All Fitness. I personally coach over 1,600 men and women to help better understand their hormones so they can lose weight and get their metabolism back on track. With this podcast, you're going to hear from me and my special guests about everything from metabolism to thyroid to weight loss. And we even talk a little bit of sexy time as we chat to spread more knowledge thick like butter on your hormones. If you're ready to learn, I'm ready to share, so let's do this. Welcome back to the podcast, everyone. Today we have a very special guest, and that is Caroline Yeager, an amazing client of ours who just finished up our Vantage Group Coaching Program. So, Caroline, how are you today? You excited to be on?
I am. Thank you.
Excellent. Now, the reason why I'm having Caroline on the podcast today is really to help show you guys and gals what can happen when you commit to making changes for your health, and also to not hear from me, because I'm sure you hear from me all the time on this podcast about what success can look like. So as a coach, I personally believe that I always value personal lived experience over just like talk and recommendations. So it's my hope that with this podcast today, you guys are going to learn something valuable, not from me, but from Caroline. So I'm pumped. And Caroline, I'd like for you to start off and just share a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do, what makes Caroline Caroline.
Okay. Well, thank you again for having me on. My name is Caroline, like you said. I own and operate two businesses. I have Homegrown Hideaway, which is glamping and special events on our acreage just outside of Port Dover. And I also have a small architectural practice. So as you can imagine, with those two businesses, I stay fairly busy, fairly swamped. I also have two young children that are a top priority for me. So wherever I can, they get top priority. Yeah, that's.
I love it. And I love the fact that you literally claim the title of Supermom, because you are, right? Two businesses and two kids. So surprised there's no, you got a double of everything. But at the same time, it just goes to show you that, I mean, anything is really possible as long as you really want it and you put to your mind to it, right? Now I'm curious, the realm of health is something that's we were talking, it's not really unfamiliar to you. I mean, you've done kind of a lot of work on various different aspects of yourself, but what made you want to kind of reach out and start this process regarding your health for support?
I had gotten to the point, so like you said, I'm not new to this kind of thing. In the past, I had gained a whole bunch of weight and then lost a whole bunch of weight, not the most healthy way, but I'd done it before. I've also been a runner. I ran a half marathon. I used to box. I was in the physical world. But then I started two businesses and I had a family, and me being a priority kind of got put on the side burner. So I had spent the last 2 years or so working pretty heavily on the mental piece of this whole thing, and the emotional piece of this whole thing. And now it was time to get into the physical, and let's just do it and get it done.
I love it. And I mean, your businesses as well too, they're two totally different beasts. It's not like it's like the same field of business where it's like, and maybe if you want to share kind of the differences, because that really changes kind of what your day-to-day schedule looks like on how you're tackling your health stuff as well.
Yeah, so my businesses are kind of seasonal. The one doesn't necessarily need to be. I have a small architectural practice, like I said. So it focuses primarily on smaller buildings, so residential, small commercial, that kind of thing. I do a little bit of consulting, but it's mainly office work. And then my other business is Homegrown Hideaway, which I said is glamping and special events. So we've turned probably about 12 of our 17 acres into a retreat space where you can come. It's like a hotel room outside in the woods. We have events throughout the summer in our barn. We've got one tonight, actually. But yeah, so it's the one is very office sedentary. You sit in front of a computer all day and don't do anything. And the other is very physical. You're chopping wood, you're hauling bins of stuff, you're running all the time. So they're It works well seasonally because I don't want to be outside in the cold when it's snowing.
I don't think
But
anybody does.
yeah, but they're very different, like you said.
Nice. And through that process, where did you feel from a physical standpoint where you were facing those actual like challenges? Because in working with the headspace and working on the emotions, which I think is phenomenal, by the way, that you took that initiative to do that and continue in any type of physical or spiritual growth, I think
Mhm.
is really positive. But what was kind of your sticking points where you were like, you know what, this physically, I need that extra kick, or I need a hand with this?
Yeah, this last winter, I'm not sure. I can't necessarily put my finger on exactly what it was, but I had let things go a little bit farther than was needed. And I was looking down the spring into my summer, which is gets very physical. I need to be, like I said, lifting heavy things, and I'm going constantly. And I knew I needed the energy, and I knew that the way that I was going, I didn't have it. So I needed someone to kind of kick my butt and say, "This is what you do. It's a really easy package. Here, just do this, and you'll be fine." And it turned out it worked.
Nice. That's a good positive.
Yeah.
I'm glad it worked. I know, like, joining a progress or a process, I should say, with any coach, doesn't matter who it is, can always sometimes be a little like, what the heck am I doing? Right.
Yeah.
How did you feel like in starting this process? Like, first weekend you joined, you're like, I guess I'm actually doing this. What was it that came up for you in those moments at the start?
The first week when I got your first email that outlined everything and the nutrition and the exercise program, I looked it over and my honest gut reaction was, "Oh, what am I doing? I'm never going to be able to do this. How am I going to make this work with my family? Because that means that I'm cooking at least two different meals for every meal. How is it? I'm slow. I have a little bit of time right now, but shortly I'm not going to have any time. So I went through all of those, all the reasons why I can't and why I shouldn't. But then I took a minute and I read it again and I talked to my husband and I read it again and I thought, no, I can do this. And I actually went for the first, I think it was 3 or 4 weeks. I was like exact and precise and I focused right in and had crazy results that I wasn't expecting, to be honest.
I appreciate you being real about two aspects. Number one, about the fact that changes are difficult. And I
Mhm.
think I would be a liar if I was like, hey, this will be so easy. And it's not an easy process, but it is, I guess the word I would use is maybe simple, in which it's
Mhm.
like the changes are either you make the changes or not. And you had this really, really, I would say, high level of accountability within yourself and even through the process, where you took a lot of ownership about the weekly challenges, the schedule that you had. And I really do think that that is a big contributor to your success, because for me, ownership is something that I can't teach. Just like, I would love to do these things for you, but like I can't go into your house and make your food. The ownership piece and saying, how can I do this is huge. So one, I want to celebrate you and congratulate you on that. Not everyone has that level of ownership that it takes, which is really important. I think that people can build ownership, but to be in a spot, and perhaps that also has to do with the development that you were working on yourself for a while as well too. I think that was really positive. The second thing is that you kept reading it over and you were talking, like you were sharing it with your partner,
Mhm.
which is really important. Like, my partner personally is my everything. And while I make decisions on my own, that doesn't mean that I don't ask for feedback or help or support. And being able to do that with the family or with the people around you is also really important. I'm curious, where do you feel like you got that quality of like accountability? When did you actually start to develop that for yourself?
That's a really good question. So I feel like I've always had a certain amount of accountability just because I don't want to be the person that lets other people down. I don't want to say that I'm going to do something and then not do it, which is great when you're accountable to do something for someone else. But when you just have to do it for yourself, it's real easy to say, oh, well, it's okay, just a little bit, or I'm only going to do part of it, but not all of it. I am really good at finding excuses around things. So when I decided to do this, I made sure that I had outward accountability as well. So I had yourself, I had my husband, and I even got my kids involved. So they knew what I could do and what I wasn't doing right now, but can do later. And they would call me on it if I went to grab something that I wasn't supposed to have, or ask if I'd done my exercises that day. And if I didn't, they'd do the mom. So
I
it was
love that.
a group effort for sure.
I think that is so powerful that you're utilizing those people around you for that. And I feel that's the huge benefit of accountability, whether it's accountability in a group like the group coaching program or accountability from a coach. It's like the to me, like words have power. And oftentimes when we make promises to ourselves, we don't vocalize those promises because we don't want to give that power. We're like, if I don't say it, it like tree falls in the woods, did it happen type of thing? That
Yeah.
same aspect, right? If I don't put it out there, then it's not gonna actually happen. So I love the fact that you vocalized it with everybody, hence, helping you get that. Now, working together for 12 weeks, which was like, I feel like it blew by, which is crazy. What
Mhm.
were the first things you saw in terms of change within you that kind of surprised you? Or like what changed initially in which you were like, whoa, like I didn't expect that.
The way that I felt. So the way that I physically felt, the clarity, I guess the mental clarity, because my sleeping was not good. My nutrition was not wonderful or amazing. So that shift was huge. I also had some noticeable hormonal shifts within the first couple weeks that kind of took me by surprise, but have been great in the long run.
Nice.
Um, but yeah, the overall, like how I feel inside my body and things that I didn't realize hurt or ached that all of a sudden felt better. And so it was,
That's good,
yeah, it was
especially
cool.
for all those cutting of logs and lifting of
Yeah,
things that you're that
I
you're
need my
doing.
body to work properly in order to do these things. So
A
yeah, it
hundred
was great.
percent. Did your like kids or your partner ever notice anything in terms of the changes? I'm always good because kids like pick up on, I feel like they're psychic, where they like
Yes.
pick up on different stuff, right?
You can't get things past the kids, that's for sure.
Mm,
I was also a lot more pleasant to be around. So I was
nice.
happier, mood shifted. Not that I was ever awful, but um, yeah, I didn't have the mood swings that I had had before. I didn't get as angry as quickly. Again, not that I was a bear, but two businesses and two kids and the husband, it gets stressful. Yeah, so I'd say all in all, I was happier, and my family noticed that.
I love that. And I love the fact that you felt that way. I think one of the toughest things that I have a hard time explaining to people as a coach is the impact that hormones really have over your body. And
Mhm.
like you said, I mean, no one's walking around being this like hormonal monster, right? But at the end of the day, if you could have 30% more energy, how would you show up to your kids or to your family or to your job? Or if you were able to like, and there are tons of things. I mean, hormones, it regulates energy, metabolism, menopausal changes. So there are so many things where it's like to just wrap it under one word is a little bit tough. So
Mhm.
when you actually start to see those changes, that's a huge plus for you, which is awesome. Um, was there ever a time through the program where like you look back and you were really proud of what you had did? Because through those 12 weeks, I mean, I get to see you week over week, see the changes, see the adjustments that happen. But when was it for you when you were first like, oh wow, like there's a big difference here?
There's two that actually come to mind. So the first couple of weeks when I was meticulous and did everything exactly the way that the plan said that I was supposed to. Just for the fact of sticking to it and then seeing the incredible results that came quickly. So I put on a pair of pants that I hadn't worn in, I think it was like a year and a half, within the first 2 weeks, which was mind blowing to me.
It's huge. I love that.
Yeah. The other one was a little bit later on when we were getting ready to open up for the season for Homegrown Hideaway. So it's uh when we get ready to open, things get a little hectic, schedules get thrown out the window, and it's just you have 10 minutes. Okay, you're doing 10 minutes of this because every minute counts.
Mm.
Um, so during those times where it's really easy to just go grab something or not do the workout or like do a drive through or a grocery store run and just pick something quick and easy or eat what the kids are eating. Um, I am not going to say that I was perfect because I absolutely was not, but I still thought about it and made the better choice of the choices most of the time,
I love that.
which is a big improvement for me because it's real easy to just grab whatever in the fridge or whatever in the cupboard, especially when you have people in your household that like you can't just do a full clean of everything and where all the temptations are still there.
Yeah. It's so interesting when you develop like an actual like what I call tertiary choice, or the ability to make the decision, because a lot of us day to day are just super reactive, where like you said, you're grabbing what's closest, you're grabbing what's quickest, and typically those foods are going to be the ones that are either most processed or that are just don't really have a lot of nutrients because it's just speed. That's it. And everybody, while it's like good to value speed, and obviously time is important, especially for a business owner, the biggest thing is like how much time are you losing in the back end with the exhausted, with the fatigue, with all of that. So I love the fact that it helped you not just in a physical way but also in terms of your business as well too, which I think is cool. Now, for some of the people that I come across, is often a little bit intimidating or overwhelming to start up a program. Like reaching out to a coach is, I don't know, maybe they think I have cooties. I have no idea. But it's like, what would you tell someone who might be uncertain whether or not they should reach out or get support?
I would say, even when you really, really don't want to, if you've thought about it more than once, at least reach out and ask questions. Say, hey, I'm thinking about this. I don't really know what it is. I don't really know if I want to do it, but then you at least have the information. I had met you over a year ago,
Yeah, I
and
think
I
it's been a
think,
year already. That's crazy.
yeah.
Wow. That's wild,
And
isn't it?
so I've
I'm getting
been
old.
kind of following you and seeing what you're doing because it was interesting. And I'm like, I need to talk to him. I need to talk to him. And then almost a year later, it took for me to actually reach out and say, okay, I need to do this. But even if you just reach out and ask for information or ask any of the questions that you have, then you have the answers and you can make your decision from there. And you can decide if the coach that you're reaching out to is the coach for you.
And that's actually a very important point. It's there are so many different ways of coaching, and there are so many different things that someone may or may not need, and that's why it's important to ask, because from a hormone perspective, some people don't have hormone issues, or some people it may or may not be what they're looking for, and you'll never know unless you ask, right? And the sooner you get those questions is the sooner that you can either move on or make the decision, right? I think a really interesting thing that comes from a person of your mindset too is you have a very like, once you get enough information, you know that you can make a choice. A
Mhm.
lot of people get stuck in the information zone where they're like, always, I need to make sure that this decision is perfect. And it's like, if you do that, then you get stuck. And I feel like maybe that's a combination of you being an entrepreneur and needing to make decisions on the fly, but also being a mom where you're like, nothing is perfect. So like, we're just gonna we're just gonna go with the
Oh man, so
flow,
true. Yeah.
right? So I think that that's huge. Now, through this process, you learned a lot of stuff.
Mhm.
Um, if there were like two tips, like hard to say top two, but like two things where you were like, do this every day. Like, let's not listen to Coach Andrew for 1 second, and it's now Coach Caroline. Like, two things, do it, and you're gonna feel better. What would you say those two things are?
Top one is consistency. So even if you're not doing it perfectly, even if you can only do like two of the exercises that you're supposed to do because your body is just not having it, do those two. Do something. Take little bites if you need of whatever it is, whether it's your exercise, whether it's you need to go outside to clear your head, whether it's meal planning, consistency, a little bit every day. My other one, now that I say that, is probably going to be meal planning. So plan it out. Um, you may go off plan. I never actually stick to the plan that I make, but at least I have a plan that I can fall back on if I need to, and I should. But yeah, consistency and plan it out.
I love it. I think people think that planning will take longer than just being reactive, but it's always when you're in reactive that now you're forced to make multiple tiny decisions in a row. And people too, like, I mean, we talked about this a lot, like 90 minutes for the whole week for cooking, where it's like, doesn't have to be anymore. People are like, the issue I think is like they see these recipes from, I don't know where they get, it's got 57 ingredients. And it's like this whole 3 hour debacle to make dinner. That's overwhelming. And that's like, I would never even do that because it's a lot, but I agree with you that the meal planning part of it is really huge. And great one on consistency. I think we're gonna do a whole podcast episode on just that, because I feel like that's a huge one. That's a non-tangible from a like physical perspective, but is going to show you results in every aspect of your life long term, which is really great. So I love that, and I appreciate you sharing everything with us, and sharing a little bit of your journey. It was absolutely incredible being able to work with you, and that you're always part of the Fit for All fam. So I appreciate you hopping on. One thing for those listening as well too, I'm going to put the links to Homegrown Hideaway. It is a phenomenal space. I have been there to their venue, and Caroline is just as passionate about that space as she is with her family. So I mean, her grounds are pristine. I didn't realize it was 17 acres, which is a lot of acreage to deal with.
Keeps us
So
busy.
yeah, that's not my thing. I'm not I have no outdoor skills whatsoever. I can't even start a fire. It's pathetic. So maybe you could teach me how to start a fire,
We can
because
do that.
that's very sad. But yeah, it's a beautiful spot. So if you guys and gals are looking for a place to get away, a place to unwind, and maybe spend some time with your family, that is an opportune place to come to check out. So I'll drop the links there, and then you guys can reach out to Caroline. But other than that, I appreciate you hopping on the call with me today.
Thanks for having me.
And then we do